Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for giving me another call, even if it is slightly before when I thought I was going to have it. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I would like to focus in this call back where I started, where I completed my previous call, and that goes to the responsibilities of the Commissioner with regard to the development of senior leadership in the public service. And I want to reiterate the comment that, in my opinion, quality leadership of the public service is important. We're never going, despite the interjection from some of my colleagues, in the end, we're never going to compete for chief executives on the basis of the money that they get. I have not much doubt that the particular individuals in the private sector could earn more than they do, and repeated Hay surveys has shown that to be the case. In fact, there's a pretty clear hierarchy of incomes which in senior positions which goes private sector, public. Well, then after that, generally state sector organisations other than the public service, and then local authority, politicians, and then central government. Well, community organisations like Parliament, the member says. But there's a hierarchy that works in that way vis-a-vis the Hay surveys, and therefore money is not going to be the main thing when the State Service Commissioner is fulfilling his tasks under this legislation that is going to get people across the line into senior public service positions. I think there is, it's worth looking at those two words, public service, because there is a major element of public service involved in this, and while it's my opinion that having loyalty to a particular agency for which you're working at a specific time is important. What is more important is that the individuals within the public service are in fact loyal to the public service overall and to the common good of the public service, rather than the particular agency that they're working for at that time. And that is why that I think some of the, while some of the things are not probably the privacy things that we find acceptable today, back in the not too distant past, certainly within my memory, they had a thing called a stud book, whereby you could look up the members, people who were employees in the public service, and you could see when they became public servants, you could see their career history and their particular level of appointment and what their current salary was. Now that, apparently we've moved on from that level of transparency, and I'm not sure why, because I think the problem is with overpay, of course, people can do have the ability to adjust their salaries. Unfortunately, the ability to deliver was not particularly good. So, the point that I'm making, that I'm attempting to make, is that we have to be offering to the people who we expect to be leaders in the public service something which is challenging, and where they feel that they are doing some things which are extra, which involve basically making New Zealand, making the world a better place. And I hate to do it, but I can just move over slightly to my left and look across the House and see there's not much room on my left politically, but the member's certainly not on my left politically. That is for sure. We just need to see the policies that are implemented when there's a government. We'll just leave that on one side now. Interjections like that are not helpful, Mr. Cunliffe. I'm actually looking at John Hayes at the moment, and he is, I think, is a very good example, Mr. Chairman, of someone who was a relatively senior public servant, Oh, yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Honourable Trevor Mallard.
A relatively senior public servant who, in his area of work, and especially in the Western Pacific, made a real difference. Well, I don't know the members. That might have been before my time. He didn't. I think he managed to get some. I think he managed to get some peace in the Western Pacific. I don't know if he totally succeeded in the Middle East, though I understand. I understand that his close friend, Mr. McCulley, is about to bring peace to the Middle East. And I just want to say one thing. I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath for that. Well, I'm sure. No, in fact, I think he. I don't know. He's either there or he's going or he's come back, Mr. Speaker. But the point that I'm making, and I'm almost inviting John Hayes to take a call, but to say to him that the difference that he made as a public servant in the world was more important than some marginal cash, that there was a degree of job satisfaction that was involved, and I can see that he's nodding, and it's not through sleep, Mr. Speaker, and that is the case for many people who are true public servants. There are a lot of them who could earn significantly more money in a private sector situation. And one of the unfortunate things that is happening under the policies of this government is that as these massive mergers and changes and reconfigurations occur, people are effectively invited to apply for redundancy in order that I think they call it right size now. I mean, I think back in the day it used to be called firing people, but Mr. Speaker, as they are downsizing these ministries, far too often there is a general invitation to people to take redundancy, and unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the people who often take redundancy are those people who have the skills and talents that are vital to the organisation. So they take redundancy. Generally it takes about 2 weeks, sometimes 6, for the organisation to work out that they have a gap, that they have part of their requirements to fill. And what do? They contract the person back in, often for 3 days a week, often for more than they were paying them anyway, and they've got a redundancy payment as well.
And they're mates of the government.
And well, some of them are mates of the government, and some of them some of them are just people who are sick of being treated badly by ministers and like to have the option of providing the advice, which generally goes through senior people, without, Mr. Chairman, the indignity of having to attend on ministers' offices, which I understand in a number of cases is something which is dreaded by public servants. And again, I've no reflection on the minister currently in the chair. You just have to wander up Lantern Quay often enough and have a number of friends who I've known for 35, 40, some 50, 55 years in some cases, who you can just sense from their body language. They're all proper public servants, but you can sense from their body language when the meetings that they've had as they come out of the beehive, have been proper and courteous and professional, and when they've been in a meeting with Tony Ryle or some of the other people who are not good ministers. And I have, to be fair to the Minister and Chair, no reflection on him yet. The only comments that I've had about that Minister is a total lack of understanding about people who are just beginning to understand the issue, about where did he get the advice. Which was it? Joined up advice to cut puppies up?
No, order.
Was it joined up? Was it
Order.
joined up? Did it? Ask the minister. Is the minister in the chair? Has he been applying the rules that sit within this legislation to get the advice which would sacrifice dogs for drug dealers? I mean, that's, you know, it's a relatively simple question. We want to stop drugs, Mr. Speaker, but where do ministers these days get such silly advice that they have to kill dogs to do it?
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this Clause 1